Halloween
forever.
Oh boy, Steve, I mean, you know, I got two kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to dance. Like I feel like a lot of little kids when they're younger, they do like ballet, tap dancing, that sort of stuff. My kids kind of lost interest in it pretty quick. I remember one time we were getting ready to go to dance, and my youngest was like, "Hey, what's that thing? I can't find my ballet thing." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Your thing that I have to wear during ballet class. I can't find it. What's it called?" And I said, man, I knew what she was talking about, but I couldn't put two and two together. Welcome, boys and girls, to a very just a regular ass minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
And I'm Steve.
You were just what I can only describe as nonplussed by that joke. Just not upset, but just also not really, just really went just in one ear out the other. Didn't give a shit about that one.
Yeah, it's just one that I saw coming down the pike for so long, and like all day today, you knew it was coming. Yeah, it's just like whatever. It just washes over me. Like it's like when you're like in the ocean, if you're like ever go swimming in the ocean, but you see like the wave coming, you know it's coming. You go, that's nice. It just washes over you. You go,
all right. I'm glad I'm yeah, not offensive,
yeah,
but not necessarily pleasurable.
No.
Not yeah.
No,
all
it's
right.
not like one of those
try to go
rogue waves that comes and hits you and gets you water up your nose, like you start gagging and coughing in the middle of the sea.
Yeah.
And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll try harder next time.
Sure.
Guys, welcome once again to another one of these tasty little son of a bitchin' minisodes that we be doing on Mondays, guys. We are going to talk about today a brand new flick that's still in the theaters as of the time of this recording. We're going to talk about Abigail from the year of our Lord 2024. We're going to get down on that son of a bitch here in a quick second. But as always, we got a couple of motherfucking things we got to do at the top of the show. First, we got to talk about some beers. I think we jump into some beers right off the bat, Steve. I see you be sipping on something over there. What you be sipping on?
Yeah, I don't got beers. I'm sidey boy today, and I pulled out two sidies out the fridge, just because it's a nice kind of sunny Sunday, and like it's a little bit warm, and I got some chiller things. So I got one you'll probably hate, and one you probably won't hate. But I'll start. Okay. I'm already drinking the one you'll hate, so we'll start with that. Is from the Cider Boys, and it's their melon mojito, which is
that doesn't sound bad because it doesn't sound horrifically sweet, and I do like a mojito.
Yeah, so this is the one I think of the Cider Boys you would hate the least because it isn't as sweet, but it still might actually be too sweet. It's hard to judge. I know judging it against other Cider Boys, it's their least sweet offering, but I think this is still in the realm of like Blake's.
Yeah, I'm not a cidy boy guy. Like I said, I like you mentioned, I like a drier, spritzier cider if I can get one. But you know what? That melon and mojito situation doesn't sound too bad.
It does have like a nice mint flavor to it. So
yeah. I like anything with nice mint. I just planted some mint. I just planted the old herb garden. A little late, but a little better late than never. And I subbed out. I usually plant basil. Love a basil. Parsley. And then what's the other one I'm forgetting?
Rosemary.
Well. No, I didn't do rosemary because nobody else in my family really likes rosemary that much. And I have rosemary and thyme and lemon thyme. I grew all last year, and I still have a bunch of it dry from last year. basil, parsley, chives.
Yeah.
And then normally I do thyme, but this year, because I had so much still left from last year, I subbed in a little mint.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna do a little mint this year, along with tomatoes and the cukes and all that good stuff. So I love a mint. I love a mint in a cocktail. I love a mint in a salad. Give me a goddamn tabbouleh salad or something like that. Yeah. I will fuck with it.
Yeah. And then the other one I have on deck is the Arsenal Cider House. It's their ginger event blend. So
that sounds more up my alley.
Yeah, I think you'd probably be into that.
Higher ABV probably too.
Not really. It's only like 6.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's kind of low for them. I know Arsenal does a lot of higher ABV ones.
Yeah. I think all their event blends are 6 and 6.5.
Well, I am doing something very not surprising in that I'm drinking a new beer from Burgers Brewing Company, but it's a new one I've not had before. I stopped on the way home from some children's soccer this afternoon and grabbed me something called Little Stream, which is their New Zealand style Pilsner. I did get some Helles too, but I was going to get the German Pilsner as I always do. But I say, you know what? Let me get something different. Let me get something different for the old podcast. So this is like a dry hopped New Zealand style Pilsner, which is to say, I think it's pretty close to a regular, German style. It's not even particularly, estery, even compared to like their Italian style Pilsner. I really get the feeling it's more like their German style Pilsner, but with some New Zealand hops, and it's dry hopped as well. It doesn't say what varieties, but I assume New Zealand hop varieties. It's fine. I like the German style Pilsner better. Every time, with the exception of the Italian, every time I get one of these like dry hop Pilsners, like I just wish this was a good old fucking German style Pilsner, but or Czech obviously would be preferable. But people are cowards and they're scared of diacetyl.
It looks nice and clean because I can see it's transparent even through like your shitty webcam. So.
Yep. And I also got this new. You can't really see it too well because of my shitty webcam, but this is a new Burgers Brewing glass here. Yeah. I haven't had a nice like old style like mid-century fucking footed Pilsner glass in a long time, like fluted footed Pilsner glass in a long time, and they had them on sale, or they had them for sale there. There was like 2 of them left. I was like, I better snatch one of those up. So I got me a little new glass because that's what I need is more beer glasses. Like I need a fucking hole in the head. But this is a fun one because I used to have one like this that was oh boy, it wasn't Bitburger. What was it? It was one of the old style. Maybe it's Dreyer. It was an old style like continental European brewery that had one of these footed Pilsner glasses. But it's like the style glasses for those of you who aren't on the Discord. Which what the fuck are you doing? You couldn't see it here. It's like one of those old style glasses that you'd see in like a damn Schlitz or a Hams or a High Life, print ad from 1958. And there's like a guy there, and he's like, "Get me a beer, woman," and she's got like a bruise under her eye. it's like very That's the type of glass we're talking about here.
8 out of 10 doctors suggest drinking.
8 out of 10 doctors suggest not mouthing off to your husband. That type of ad. So anyway, guys, we are going to get into a little bit of an update regarding our showdown episode for the beautiful month of May, which is coming up. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ, for the month of June. We were in May, guys, which will be coming up real damn soon here. For those of you who are new to the podcast, here's how it happens. First of all, first thing you got to do, get your shit straight. Get your shit lined up. Go over to the social medias, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebook, all that stuff. Search Halloween is Forever on Twitter/X. We're at Hallow Forever. Otherwise, just search Halloween is Forever. You'll find it. It's a damn old little pixel art pumpkin guy that Steve made. Click on that. Follow us. That's the first thing. So you can keep up with all our yummy, spooky shit on the internets that we do every week. Now, once you've done that, every month, we actually every damn Monday we put out some new spicy, ooky, spooky content. But every first Monday of the month, we do what's called a showdown episode. That's where me, Steve, and our guest will have a topic that is voted on by our social media friends and listeners. We get that topic. We pick a movie or an episode or a show or something that is associated with that topic. We each argue our point. We talk about it. We vote, and somebody takes home that son of a bitch championship strap for that month. Where do you get these topics? Where do our social media friends and listeners find these topics to choose from? Here's how it works. Y'all suggest them to us. Some of them me and Steve come up with. We put them on a big old spinny ass wheel. First Monday of every month, we spin it. We get 3. We put it on the social medias for our friends and followers to vote on. We just did that last week, you guys. Here's what happens. Our poll. Now, I don't have it up because I forgot, but the options were Peter Cushing flicks, right?
Yep.
Erie, Indiana, best episode of Erie, Indiana, and then a reoccurring one, which was Bigfoot movies, which you've done in the past. We had a lot of fun with. Those were your options to choose from. The topic that pulled it out, and maybe it was because I lobbied for it. I don't give a fuck because I love it. We are going to talk about our favorite episodes of Erie, Indiana, right? The 90s spooky kids show. Steve, I can't remember how you described it last week, but it was perfect. What was it again? It was X-Files plus something. I forget.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I forget too. It was X-Files meets something else. Yeah, but...
Because I always would say it's like...
X-Files meets Pete and Pete is what I said.
Pete and Pete meets the X-Files, which is a perfect way of describing it. I was going to say it was... I always described it as the kids' version of the Twilight Zone, but Pete and Pete meets the X-Files is absolutely perfect. If that sounds even remotely exciting for you... Go watch the show. I'm pretty sure it's streaming, probably on fucking Tubi or whatever, for free. If not, it's streaming somewhere. So go check this show out. It's a lot of fun.
If you jump on archive.org, somebody has ripped the entire DVD to archive.org, so you can even watch like the DVD menus if you so wish for whatever dumb reason. But yeah,
nice.
Every episode is up there, which I mean, we're talking about a show from the 90s that was only 1 season long, and it's only 19 episodes. So
yeah. So we're literally talking what our favorite of those 19 episodes are. I have seen every episode many times. I love this series. This is like one of my all-time like comfort watch series, but my kids have now watched almost all of it, I bet, at this point with me, or at least my oldest has. And I fucking love this show. So I'm super excited for that. But in the future, if you have any suggestions that you want us to put on the spinny wheel, or maybe you just have a suggestion for one of these old minisodes, not that Showdown episode, but just another minisode, like this exact one was a suggestion. Who suggested we watch this piece of shit, by the way?
Dan, who's in the Discord right now.
I was gonna blame Dan, but I didn't want to do it right off the bat, and I know why Dan picked this. I 100% know exactly why he picked this, but it still kind of stunk. And
you didn't
Dan,
like it?
No, and I was gonna say, Dan, what did I do to deserve this? And then I remembered. Great Puppy Adventure, aka Halloween Puppy. I know you're gonna say that, and Dan. I've worked that off. I've worked that off my conscience. Now you need to let go of the Halloween Puppy. But yes, I understand why you picked this, and it wasn't because of Halloween Puppy. It was because of a different thing. I think we'll wait and we'll get to it. Yes, inflicting pain is a blessing. It is a blessing that we all have the opportunity to do in our lives. So Dan suggested Abigail that we watch this. He's in the Discord right now. If you have suggestions for us, we oftentimes for our Showdown episodes have our listeners use our listeners' suggestions for mini-sodes here, especially if you're one of our patrons on the Patreon. Halloween is Forever. Patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. Steve, while I finish on this beer here, why don't you tell the boys and ghouls at home what you get if you subscribe to the Patreon, how that sumbitch works.
Yeah, you jump on that Patreon. We got 2 tiers. One's an introductory tier. It just kind of shows you a little bit around, but you don't get any of the good stuff. You just
don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a ripoff.
Yeah, it's a ripoff, but it's a way to give you like you get a free trial that way. But
that's fine.
Yeah, in that free trial, I'm not going to give you all the goodness. You gotta sign up for the $5 Rascal tier.
Why give the why pay for the milk if you're gonna get the cow for free or something?
Right. Go back to drinking your beer.
I'm adding nothing to this section.
So you get on that $5 tier.
I'll just pour this beer here.
And then you get on the Discord, and then
what do you get it with the cow if you drink the milk?
How did with the cheeseburger if you can't have the milk in the cow? Why would you buy the cheeseburger?
How you get a cheeseburger without the milk?
We're getting too close to Cosby impressions.
It was leaking into Cosby territory.
But yeah, you get on the you get like recommendations, you get extra votes in those polls that we're talking about. You get on the Discord, and you can watch episodes happen live, so you get to see them as early as possible, because it's literally right now. Unless you're listening at home, then it's not right now, but it's right now for us and Dan, but it could be right now for you as well.
Could be right now.
And you get an exclusive monthly podcast. We just finished one series, which was all of the Fast and the Furious films. And Brian lost his mind, and it hurt his soul, and I broke him down.
It took 8 years off my life, minimum.
Yes. I've ended his life early, unbeknownst to his family.
Yeah, I've now snuck down into the 60s. I thought I was going to make it into the 70s, not anymore.
Nope. But in response, we've now started a new series, and Brian is subjecting me to Christian-themed horror and other genre
it's
films.
Giving me new life. I actually think that after I die, I'm getting years added back, not to this life, but to the life where I come back and torture Steve and fart on his pillow and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And a possibility is, like, we've talked about how, like, there's a whole sect of Mormon themed thrillers and such, and maybe this will put them in your good grace, or put you in their good graces.
Oh, I might be one of the 4,400 or something now.
Something like that. Or like, no, that's Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Wait, no, which one's Latter-day Saints?
That's Mormons. Mormons is Latter-day Saints.
That's Mormons. Okay.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
4,400's Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
But the Mormons are the ones that give you your own planet when you die. So maybe they'll give you like a movie planet.
Dude, if I got a planet, can I throw out a request here? I know that, Mormon Jesus or John, what's his name? Not John Smith.
John Smith and it's both of them.
Yeah. So if you're listening up there, I want my planet to have like cool Saturn rings. It's like racing stripes for a planet.
Yeah. And a big number 3 on it.
Hell yeah. If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. Race Dale, praise Dale.
But yeah, you get all that on the Patreon. So sign up now. Patreon.com/Halloween is forever.
Yep. It's fun. Go over and check it out. This series is going to be fucking hilarious. We just recorded the first one. I'll give you a little teaser, right? And I shouldn't because you don't deserve it, you rat fucks. But I'm going to give it to you. The movie we talk about in the first episode we just recorded the other night is a movie called Blood Pageant from 20 and 21. Go watch Blood Pageant on Tubi. It's free. And then you're going to have to come subscribe to the Patreon to listen to us talk about it, because it's one of the most fucking bonkers movies you'll see. And it's not even top 5 most bonkers movies that I have lined up to talk about in this weird Christian right-wing propaganda horror movie fucking escapade that we're going down. So I'm very excited. It's re-energized my life. It's fixed a lot of relationships with my loved ones. My blood pressure's down. I feel healthy. I feel happy. And it's because I'm out from underneath Steve's thumb. So I'm very excited about this.
And the thumb-like head of Vin Diesel.
He is a fucking walking thumb. All right, guys, we did all the stuff, which means we're going to get into talking about Dan's suggestion, which is 20 and 24's Abigail. Steve, now, I will preface this question by saying that I was a little harsh. I didn't hate this movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
It was perfectly serviceable, like a 4 to 4.5 out of 10. And not on like one of those, scales where people are trying to be nice and like 7 is low. I'm talking like 5 is average. This is just slightly below average for me. So it's fine. Okay. But I would be intrigued to hear what if you felt that it was better than that. I'm intrigued to hear, because that, spoiler alert, I thought it was fine, which is to say not impressed, but also not disgusted. Yeah.
I think I'd probably just give it a 6. Like,
okay. So you thought slightly above average.
Yeah.
I thought slightly below average.
Yeah. Because I think it's slightly above average, because like an average film for me is just a film that runs and works properly and isn't, like fucked up in any way. So,
okay. Well, this kind of script feels like it was written by a child. So like, that's why I thought, but it looks good.
Yeah. So like it looks good,
brilliant,
and it has some nice moments that pop you. So like I think just the fact that it has some of those moments that like pop you and make you go, oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think the big drawbacks for me are the runtime is too long.
Oh, for sure.
Like there's so many scenes that could just kind of be cut down.
This movie, by the way, is like an hour 50, hour 52 runtime, something like that.
Yeah. And then the one thing I really wanted out of this film, and it's something that you notice while you're watching it, is it really tries to play it tries to play as Predator.
It's a haunted house movie. Like it's I don't know. I can't even see a lot of the comparisons with Predator because.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
All right. Well, wait. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Well, no, I mean, I can just tell you right now because it's supposed to be set up like Predator. So if you're like Predator, you go into that film and you think you're seeing just another Arnold film. And
sure. Oh, I understand now. Yep.
Yeah. And so like when Arnold is shooting up that the camp of Contras or Renegades or whatever it is, it's completely indistinguishable from any other Arnold film. Like it's like, oh, it's just Commando. But then the reveal is that there's something else out there and it turns into a completely different film. This film wanted to do that. It wanted to be like one of those gritty crime thrillers. Yeah. Of like, oh, we're going to kidnap a woman and then we're going to like butt heads against each other, in the group. But then it's revealed, oh, she's a vampire.
If they wouldn't have titled it the name of the little girl, they might have had a chance.
Right.
And if they wouldn't have foreshadowed literally every second from the first 5 seconds of the movie that the little girl was more than she seemed,
right.
They telegraphed every punch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it happens in the first like opening scene when she's dancing. They have a shot of her like she's upside down on a black background, flapping her arms to the Swan Lake song.
Yeah,
it's clearly the sound of a bat flapping its wings. Like it's like a Batman scene, I believe.
It's fine. It's fine. This is a movie, and again, this is just maybe not meant for the hardcore horror nerd. This is a movie in the springtime to go get teens who don't watch a lot of horror movies out to sit in the theaters and touch each other's privates and look at their phones. That's what this is for. Yeah. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's absolutely, and that's why I'm not being too harsh on it, but it is, I would honestly say, among the more predictable movies I've watched in a long time.
Oh yeah.
So don't expect even, I would say there is one half of one surprise in this movie and they ruin it. So we'll get into it. But here's the other thing I'll say was why I'm being, I don't think I'm being overly harsh on it, but I am being a little bit critical is the whole scary little girl thing has been kind of perfected at this point. Let the right one in, the good version, obviously, of Let the Right One In. We are at an impasse with scary little girls.
Yeah.
Scary little kids. I wouldn't even say scary little girls, but scary little kids. Right. Ballet is always creepy. Just the idea of ballet is creepy.
Right.
And the little weird pointy toes and all that. That's a little creepy. That's fine. But scary little kids is zombies now, where it's just like, unless you got a really unique take on it, maybe give it a rest for a decade.
Yeah.
It's kind of played out.
I'll say I agree that it's not unique at this point, but I think the actress in this film does a really good job. She's a good actor, and she is. She was given, unfortunately, the task of pushing a boulder up a mountain, maybe. Right. There's one scene I really didn't like her in, and I'll talk about that. But overall, I think she was good. Okay. I think she did a good job. But there's one scene that I really didn't like her in, and I don't think it's her fault. But we'll talk about it when we get to it, I guess. But yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah. So yeah, I think she does a good job. But yeah, also at the same time, it's just we've seen it enough. You have to do something brand new to it, and even do something like really fucked up, like Terrified, where
something
kid,
where there's just a corpse kid sitting there. So,
yeah, corpse kid at the table is something completely new and terrifying in a weird way that is different.
Corpse kid that you think that you have to stare at for a long extended shot, but also you think he's going to come back to life. Like, that's one of the fucking most suspenseful scenes I've ever seen in my life. This doesn't have anything like that. But yeah, I think, not to belabor this, but I think they could have stretched this out and made more out of it if they didn't telegraph all their punches, like having Swan Lake and like having, you know, maybe for the audience they're going for, these are subtle references, but like for anyone who, you know, has been watching horror movies for a significant period of time, you're going to catch all this stuff really quickly. And I didn't know anything about this movie. I try to completely avoid anything going in blind if I can to a movie. And I did for this one. I didn't know damn thing about it, except for that there was a ballerina or dancing type of element or something like that. Didn't know she was a vampire. And literally 30 seconds in, I was like, she's a fucking vampire.
Right.
Like it was extremely obvious.
Yeah.
Swan Lake, I mean, alone, you hear it and you're like, oh, it's a fucking vampire. But there was like you said, there, even in the first 10 minutes, there's about 5 other things.
Yeah. It's shot like a sleek Blumhouse film. And it, like, had it been shot like a gritty crime thriller, then it maybe would have been more believable. But doesn't, like, if it looked like fucking Training Day for some reason, you might, or The Shield, you might be like, oh, okay, like you might get tricked. But they telegraphed way too many things. Yeah,
it's very slick looking. But here is a bit of a pet peeve for me is, so we get introduced right off the bat to this group of criminals, right? And criminals don't look like this. Even these supposedly like high-end professional type criminals don't look like this. 80% of like career criminals are ugly.
Yes.
They just are. That's how the world works, right? If you're very, very good looking, the percent chance that you are going to have it an easier way in life makes it so you don't have to turn to a life of crime. Now, if you're a sociopath, whatever, of course, there's very good looking criminals. I'm not laboring that. But the idea that you get 6 people together and like almost all of you are good looking is immediately unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the different individual characters here, but you've got this group of 6 criminals, and they are going to kidnap this, you know, rich ballerina child, and she's doing her whole dance, whatever, by herself out on the stage. You're like, it's a little weird thing. There's not like a director there. There's not a teacher of any kind. She's just doing her business. And then she just goes out, hops in a fucking, I don't know what it was, a Bentley or something. And then she's off going to her house. So all the good looking bad guys are after her. So the only one besides the main character, and they don't say their names up front. They do the old, like, you know, Mr. Pink, Mr. Black almost type situation where they get these you know, cover names because they're not supposed to know who each other are because they don't know each other. This crack team that's been assembled, they don't know why they're together. They don't know each other. But there's this one guy, and you know what? Maybe we should go through just really high level the cast and director before I get any further. Because I forgot to talk about the director. This is kind of a director duo. It's Matt Bettolini Olpin and Tyler Gillette. They, as far as I know, most of their work seem to be as a director duo, right? They are most well known in just in recent years here for Scream 6, well, Ready or Not, which was, venture to say, their kind of breakout. They directed that together. Scream, what I refer to as S-Cream, which is Scream 5, and Scream 6, and then this one. And that's kind of what they're known for, right? So they've really been on the scene here for the last 5 years, and they tend to direct things together from really all of their big projects have been together, right?
Yeah, it looks like it, because I mean, it looks like they're real. So the credit starts and it says it's credited as Radio Silence, which is kind of like more of their collective name that they go by. So it's, the collective of Radio Silence is known for doing, horror. And so you can tie it to that rather than remembering these long hyphenated names. But
yeah,
they did a short in the original VHS. And then they also did a short in this movie called Southbound, which is another anthology, which I like. It's pretty decent.
I really like Southbound.
Yeah.
I thought Southbound was good. Lower budget.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, VHS is good. Yeah. So I like these guys. I like their directing style. They're a very, I would say, aesthetic-minded, modern kind of director style in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And then Ready or Not is obviously just like a huge breakout. And you can, even if you didn't know who these guys were, if you watched Abigail, you would feel Ready or Not in this film. Yeah,
for sure. And it has that similar aesthetic. It's very slick. I didn't watch Scream 6 because S-Cream sucked, so I didn't watch Scream 6 and probably will never watch another Scream movie. But really, I think where this movie falls apart a little bit for me is the writing. It's the two writers here is a guy named Guy Busick and another guy named Stephen Shields. And from what I can tell, one of them, which I think is Stephen Shields. Yeah. So Guy Busick is really involved in a lot of these same projects.
Yeah.
Ready or Not, S-Cream, and then, of course, Abigail here. And I think Scream 6 too. And then the other guy, Stephen Shields, looks brand new. I mean, he really doesn't have a lot of kind of feature length writing credits, but
it's possible then that he wrote the original spec script or wrote the script for the studio and then they passed it off to Radio Silence to brush it up and make it really presentable.
Yeah. I that makes a lot of sense now that you say that, because this guy really, this script might have got passed around a little bit and then somebody decided to take it and clean it up and make it. The script is, if somebody gave me the elevator pitch on this, vampire, little girl, crime boss, daughter who's a vampire, haunted house, killing bad guys. Cool. Love it. Yeah. Predator, the Predator vibes, right? I get all that. Sounds great. Execution from a script perspective, I thought was not great, but I can see that it might have been a little messy. And then they bring the pros that make big budget slick horror movies in to kind of tidy it up, perhaps. And I'm not saying they did a bad job, but good God, this movie is maybe the definition of forgettable in my mind in terms of the script and everything. We have Joey, and these are their kind of made up names, played by Melissa Barrera, who is in a bunch of stuff. Like, she's kind of, has broken out in the last 5 years pretty significantly. Again, Scream, S-Cream, Scream 6, that's probably what most people will know her from. Alicia Weir, who plays the titular Abigail. She played Matilda in the Matilda the musical in 2022, and I know that because I have children and saw her in that, and she was great. But she's, boy, I didn't look at her age, but I would put her at 10 or 12 years old.
She's 15.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe
maybe
a couple years younger when she shot this or something like that. But yeah, she's a younger performer. We've got Kathryn Newton, which we just watched in Freaky. She was Millie, aka she took over. Her body was taken over by the Spring something Butcher or whatever his name was.
Yeah, the Spring Hill Butcher or whatever it was.
Yeah, and she's given yes, and she was given a lot more to do in this one, and she was good. I thought her, her and Melissa Barrera were fine. I thought Alicia Weir was fine. And Angus Cloud, who plays Dean, who's kind of like a Mac Miller kind of wannabe type of guy, was good too. Honestly, he was the most believable criminal.
It was. You said Mac Miller, and I literally thought he was a rapper that they hired to do this role. And then I looked.
He even looks like him a little bit.
Yeah, I looked it up, and though he's just always been an actor, even though he's dead now, but
Angus Cloud is?
Yeah.
Oh no. He passed away last year. That's horrible.
Yeah, this was his like last film. He died from overdose. But,
that's sad.
Yeah. But I think the only other notable thing he's in is Euphoria, and I hadn't seen that. So so I just saw him show up and I was like, oh, is this like a rapper that they gave a role to? And then I looked it up and I was like, no, he's just always been an actor, but he was actually really good at just playing a Mac Miller like shithead, white kid. Just like scuzz.
He's the most believable criminal in this by far.
Yeah.
All the rest of them are like, you all are too pretty. You don't fucking got it. He had he played the part perfectly of like, normal look, pretty average, above average looking kid, but dumb as a brick. Like he was the guy with like street smarts, perhaps, but dumb as a brick, and that's how he got into this line of work. But a couple other people. Kevin Durand plays Peter. You'll recognize him from stuff. He always played like smaller roles, but I didn't I knew him from something, but I didn't recognize who he was because he's a lot older than the last time I saw him in anything, I think, too.
Sure.
And he's fucking huge. Like he's a big, he's a big fucking guy in this. William Catlett. I didn't recognize him from anything. He doesn't play a huge part, and he, spoiler alert, dies pretty early. And then you have Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Everyone will know him. Super memorable character. He plays a relatively small role in this movie. And then Dan Stevens as Frank, who's the cop in this. And he was the guy who kind of drove me fucking mad.
Really?
I hated him in this movie. And it's not even that I hated him. I honestly don't think I hated his performance. Okay. I hated the lines he had to say.
Okay.
And he probably did as good as he could. And this is really why I'm putting a lot of the blame on the script, because I don't think he was bad. I think he was given some trash lines and just did the best he could with it.
Dan Stevens is interesting because I feel like I never really noticed him in any film until this one. Mm-hmm. And then I went back and looked at all the list of stuff he's done, and he's just been in stuff constantly, but he has like this chameleon-like nature about him. And this was further reinforced for me by I watched the Godzilla, the newest Godzilla movie that just came out.
The Godzilla Kong one.
Yeah. And he's in that as well. And he couldn't be playing a more different role than this one. Because in that, he's a crunchy veterinarian from Australia who just who's also so he has that Australian vibe of oh, everything's like a party, man. And I'm going to go hang out with Kong and take care of his bad tooth and stuff. But he's also just this soul hippie who's hugging people and stuff all the time. So it couldn't be more different.
This character in this movie, like I said, I think he was a little bit miscast, and I think the script sucked. So he was kind of played this role of somebody, a role this is a shitty description, but it's just the first person that came to mind. He feels like he's playing a role like Liam Neeson should play or something, like a grizzled ex-cop who's gotten into some shit and seen some shit. And now it has, perhaps via, combination of bad luck and bad judgment, gotten himself into a different type scenario here. But he's too young to play this role. Right. First of all, he's too kind of stylish and young to play this role.
Can I tell you who it is? And I'll even say go to this actor's IMDb after I say his name and look at his profile pic. It's Christian Slater.
we just talked about Christian Slater recently. I could see a Christian Slater. No, not. I just Googled it real fast with my thumbs here, and it came up as British skater.
Nope.
My thumbs is too big. Christian Slater. Oh, yeah, the picture, too. Yeah, makes perfect sense. He would have been a better. We just need somebody a little older. You need somebody a little older, a little more grizzled. This kid's too young. I think he does as good of a job as he can. But he's given, his character is so confusing. And the reason I dislike it is also probably the reason why this guy is a good actor. You know what I mean? Like Dan Stevens,
Sure.
Because he makes it work as best he can. But him really leaning in and doing a good job really showcases the shortcomings of the script, I feel like.
Yeah. By him doing acting, it also shows off how, like, stuff doesn't quite fit together.
It's so dissonant what he's doing from scene to scene and what type of character he's supposed to be, I guess. Dan said I wanted Eric Roberts in that role. Yes, I would. Shit. I mean, Eric Roberts would have probably been drunk, but you know what? They were supposed to be drunk for a period of this movie, so that would have made sense. Anyway, so that's kind of a little bit about the cast and directors and writers and that sort of thing. Okay, let's get back to the story here. We've got this, Mac Miller looking ass motherfucker who is, like I said, the only person who's like believable as a street criminal in this and does a wonderful job. So they hack like a security system because they have a hacker, right? So I'll just kind of give you the rundown of the different characters because I'll be referring to him here. You've got Melissa, who's kind of like the liaison. Melissa Barrera. She plays the name she is assigned to is Joey, and she's kind of the lead here. She plays the kind of liaison / like babysitter of the kidnappee, we'll say. We got Frank, who's played by Dan Stevens, who's the cop, ex-cop, we come to learn, who's kind of the cynical, kind of selfish asshole / de facto leader of the group. We've got William Catlett character plays, they name him Don Rickles. So Rickles, he's the ex-Marine, so kind of the military guy, the weapons specialist. I think they refer to him as like being like a explosive specialist too. Anyway, he's the weapons guy. We've got Sammy, played by Kathryn Newton, which we just talked about, or we just talked a lot about when we watched Freaky. She is the hacker. I will say that almost everyone here is like a cartoonish caricature of what we're explaining their kind of role to be.
Yeah, a little bit.
We have Dean, played by Angus Cloud, who's the Mac Miller guy, who he's kind of like the fuck up stoner, wannabe rapper guy. And he's the wheelman, right? So he's good at what he does, but he's got like a relatively low impact job, I guess. Not low impact, but like he's not the brains of the operation,
no,
we'll say.
Not at all.
And then we have Peter, played by Kevin Durand, who is the muscle, and he's this big Quebecois, big French Canadian meathead muscle man kind of thing. But he's an interesting character too. Again, I like him in this, but poorly written character, and we'll talk about that too. And then they get to the I'm getting ahead of myself because we haven't met anyone else at this point. So guys, it's a dark and stormy night. And they hack into the security system. They go into this big giant mansion. You start to pick up via context clues that are talking to each other that they're going to kidnap somebody. Then it comes to light that it's a kid that they're going to kidnap. Joey is not excited about this. They kidnap this girl. She looks like she's 10 or 12 years old, coming home from ballet. We had seen her do her little dance thing. So like that whole thing very, very much kind of telegraphed that she is more than she appears to be already. They tranquilize her and she doesn't put up much of a fight, but she does like stab one of them in the hand with a pen or something like that. And you get the idea that the cop is kind of like a bit of a loose cannon, Frank.
Yeah.
Because he wants to like punch the little girl in the face for stabbing him with a pencil, like a little aggressive, like but anyway, someone shows up. They think it's the father or whatever, and they kind of sneak out the back and they escape pretty easily. They do a pretty good job of like explaining who everybody is without coming right out and saying it, but then it becomes a little bit more heavy-handed once they get to their destination. The crew are all in a van with the girl in basically in like a duffel bag with a blindfold on. She's been drugged, and they take her to Disney's A Haunted Mansion. It's comical. It really is. It's cartoonish. It is. It doesn't look any different than the Disney Haunted Mansion movie that came out last year. It might as well have been the same fucking place. Yeah,
it's just full on cobwebs, and the lighting turns super gross, and everything is completely just run down and old, and it's like, oh, we're in a horror movie now.
Yes, we are in a gothic haunted mansion.
Yeah, and had they gone to something more annoyingly mid-modern century, that has an infinity pool, and everything is gray and shitty and dumb, and then you later find out it also is built on this hundreds years old dungeon that has been around because the family keeps rebuilding a new house over top of the dungeon with the body pit and stuff.
Love that idea. 1,000 times better. Punch up.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Or even if it was a fucking warehouse, you know what I mean? Just not Disney's A Haunted Mansion.
Sure.
But they get there. Listen, I'm not complaining. I love the spooky vibes, whatever. It's fun. This is a dumb movie, right? And you just kind of accept what it is. This is a less entertaining version of what's the Nick Cage vampire movie from a couple years ago? What was that?
Oh, Renfield.
Renfield. Now that's way more comedic. This is more mildly comedic, but this is a way less entertaining version of that in a way. So they meet Lambert, who is, Gus from Breaking Bad, which we talked about. And, Gus sets up all the rules. He's kind of the overseer. Hey, here's what you got to do. We are kidnapping her. He basically tells them it's ransom. They don't know who she is. They don't know who the parents are, anything like that. But they're basically saying, hey, guess what? You guys stay here and, we hold her here for 24 hours. Once they pay it up, they get the kid back, and you each get $7 million because they're hitting this guy up for $50 million or something like that because he's extremely wealthy. And you get all the rules. First of all, he takes all their cell phones, no real names. So all the haunted house premise gets tightened up pretty quickly by Gus here. And that's exactly what's undoubtedly about to play out. So again, what you're getting. There's going to be no spins in that direction. So they have to spend 24 hours in this house. And for some reason, this should have been suspicious. All these people who are supposed to be quote unquote professionals, especially Frank, who's this cop, he should have sniffed out, he's like, you got a full kitchen, you got a full bar, make yourself at home, whatever. All you got to do is stay here for 24 hours. You get $7 million. It feels literally like a reality show in a haunted house almost.
Yeah.
Because it at first they make it seem like, oh, okay, the Marine guy's up in the crow's nest and he's got a sniper rifle and he's making sure no one's approaching and all this stuff. And they act like they're all business. But then once they get there, they're like, no, enjoy yourselves. Get hammered.
Yeah.
And they do. They all just start aggressively drinking.
Dull your senses. Be reckless.
For $7 million, you can't not drink for a night. You know what I mean? It's just the whole thing's very very suspicious if it was real, and the fact that they don't. It just feels kind of. Anybody who with half a brain would have sniffed this out anyway.
It does when they do start drinking, though. I'll say it is paired, or it is scaled to the character they are. Yeah. So Frank is drinking just a scotch. I don't know that we see the Marine drinking at all.
I don't remember him drinking now.
Sammy and Peter are drinking pretty heavily, and then Dean, the dumbass, is straight chugging out of the decanter like a maniac. Yeah. So
yeah. He's going for broke. He's the big dumb muscle guy, right?
No.
And
Dean
Dean's Mac Miller.
Yeah, Mac Miller is chugging out of the decanter. Peter, the muscle is drinking a lot, but like he bothers to get a glass. It's just Dean is just chugging out of the decanter like a psycho.
Yeah, you're right. And Frank, or not Frank, the muscle guy, he later starts drinking aggressively, but that's when he finds out a little bit more. But anyway, so there's this little scene where it's very reminiscent of Usual Suspects, where in this instance, Joey is doing her whole, like, I know what all of you guys are like and where you come from, and I know everything about you. And she's, doing the little rundown. And then Frank, on the other hand, he's making some assumptions about people too. And so we learn a lot about the individual characters through this. So Frank is an ex-cop. He's the character that I kind of take exception to. At this point, I liked him, but the further the movie gets on, the sillier the character gets. The hacker character, who is played by Kathryn Newton, that's Sammy. She has a little bit early on of kind of a Harley Quinn vibe, which is giving me hemorrhoids. She's dressed in all these sparkles and stuff, and I don't know, it's a little much.
She has a bunch of scratcher tattoos, and
yeah. And then the cop calls out that Joey is a junkie, and that hits home with her. And yeah, she clearly has a background of drug abuse. Anyway, the little girl, Abigail, she wakes up, and the movie is desperately trying to make her seem like a vulnerable little girl, but she's obviously manipulating Joey. And Abigail and Joey seem like there's some sort of connection, but Abigail's obviously playing her, asking her about her kid. And it's just like anybody who they really stress the idea that, like, oh, you're a professional, you know what I mean? Except for Joey kind of ridicules Mac Miller because he's like, oh, you're not a professional. Like, you might be good at what you do, but you're not a professional. All the rest of us are professionals.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're a professional. You just went up and like told a bunch of personal stuff to the person you kidnapped. Like, who the fuck would do that? That's the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, you're off base.
Yeah. I am not by any stretch of the imagination a professional criminal, and I would know not to do that. I feel like just common sense would imply you don't do that. But Abigail basically suggests, like, hey, my dad doesn't care about me, and you guys have all made a mistake. And then she says this ominous line, which is, I'm sorry about what's going to happen to you. So that is Abigail showing that she's obviously very dangerous, or somebody involved is very dangerous and something bad's going to happen to them. But at the same time, she is feeling some sort of connection with Joey. So there's all this like posturing shit that happens, like kind of in the bar as they're all sitting around drinking and learning about each other. It's a little clue-ish, them just kind of all being kind of coy and saying things about each other. But the cop walks into the wrong room and Abigail sees his face. So he kind of freaks out, points a gun at her, blah, blah, blah. He's kind of being an aggressive psycho, forces her to tell him who her father is. She said her father is Christophe Lazar. And everyone gets super scared. We don't know who Christophe Lazar is. Come to learn, he's this big explanation. He's kind of this boogeyman type, right? He's this Kaiser Sose type of guy, right?
Yeah.
Who's capable of fucking everybody up. He's a psycho. He murders people. He's this. He's that. Right? They're all scared of Lazar. The dialogue at this point really starts to fall apart for me. They all get hammered and they try to like focus up, and which makes sense, but like now they're all scared and they're all having to play these kind of more stressed out characters, and I feel like a lot of the dialogue starts to fall apart around now. They also like are walking around the house. Like they're like, all right, we got to secure up the place. Like somebody's got to get up in the crow's nest. Like Lazar's going to come and kill us. He's fucking John Wick meets Kaiser Soze, right? He's going to kill us. So we got to all, focus up. So they decide they're going to,
at least he has an army of like guys who might show up. Who knows?
He is in charge. He runs the fucking city, right? So, there's this kind of foreshadowing thing too, where Joey walks in and there's this like automatic window blind thing on this like kind of, I don't know, weird picture window that is like stuck and it like won't fully open. It's trying to like open and close and making this noise. So now you're like, oh, so there are window blinds involved. You know what I mean? Like these weird automatic opening and closing window blinds. Here's the first like interaction between the characters that I was like, I feel like something was cut out of the script here. Joey and the Marine, at first I was like, okay, they either want to fuck each other or they know each other. I thought they knew each other for a second.
Yeah.
This is before this job.
Yeah. This is one of those things that could have been cut because it doesn't it just doesn't play well. I think they're trying to set up that the Marine is going to be the co-lead in this. Like they're trying to convince us that like, oh, he's going to be the other guy that survives towards the end with Joey.
Yeah.
Like we already
got that feeling.
Yeah, we already assumed Joey's going to survive. This is going to be like her co-lead that will also survive and maybe sacrifice himself in the end for her. But because he just dies so quickly in the beginning, all of this stuff doesn't feel purposeful. It doesn't, it just extends runtime. And so it doesn't play right because it does feel like they supposedly know each other, but instead it's just that the Marine is very forward with her and it is just trying to bang her out. Yeah.
Well, but then she feel like, if at first it was just like, oh, he's hitting on her, but then she was kind of responsive to it.
Right.
So I was like, oh, do they have a history? But no, they just have this unearned connection.
Yeah. Maybe something was lost in that because he's obviously a Marine and then she served as a medic. So maybe
they try to make that's how they got this connection or
so maybe
come to trust each other.
They left something out that like there was an explanation of like maybe she did have contact with him at some point. But it again,
even if they would have had a little conversation about their time, serving the military, that would have been maybe enough to make it believable.
Yeah, maybe. But like, because it just feels like kind of unearned or like something's missing. It doesn't work for the rest of it. And then it gets wiped anyway because he dies so early. So
he's like the second one to die.
Yeah. It would have probably been more effective if he was played by a more well-known actor. Like,
because then you're like, he's gonna survive.
Yeah, he's gonna survive, and then you're surprised when he dies. So it kind of lends to like Deep Blue Sea a little bit.
Well, they botched his death too, which we'll talk about when we get to it. But I for a second I thought they were gonna do something really cool, and then they botched it. But anyway, Dean, who's Mac Miller, he's trying to bang the hacker. And he's doing his whole Mac Miller impression. He draws a dick on the French Canadian guy's face while he's sleeping. They find this like gothic mural with this old ass picture of Abigail on it, as if it's not blatant enough that she's a fucking ancient vampire by this point. Like they're really spoon feeding it. Like we get it. She's a fucking vampire. She's dangerous. We have to. Her name's the title of the movie, right? That's such a misstep. So the whole haunted house shit continues. Mac Miller is in the kitchen, like pantry area, whatever. A rat jumps out. Then you hear the rat get eaten. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything, I mean. And then Mac Miller gets dragged away by his feet in the classic kind of, monster fashion. But we don't see anything. And then the hacker goes back to investigate all his screams for help because she's trying to sleep. And she walks in and he's sitting at the table with his back to her. She walks up to him, like taps him on the shoulder. His head falls off. And at this point, I'm like, oh, this might be like an ultra gory, crazy, this might get really wacky.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, unless puking blood is wacky to you, there's really not that much that happens. Just a lot of blood shooting out of people's necks, basically. But so she kind of
exploding blood.
Yeah, CGI. It's CGI people exploding. Fine.
Yeah.
So the muscle guy shows up, and he does have some fun lines. And if they kept them subtle, it would have been fine. But they lay the levity with the jokes, especially with the muscle guy, Dean, but then also with Frank's reactions to Dean, they lay them on way, way, way too thick. I mean, they're like caking these jokes one on top of another. So when they run in, and we already know that Mac Miller's been decapitated, but now he's laying there and his head's laying on the table, and he runs in and he goes, what happened? Like, that alone is kind of funny, But
right.
then he has to come in all cartoonish, and then she goes, why do you have a dick on your face? Because the guy drew a dick on his face. I'm like, all right, now it's like a hat on a hat. You know what I mean? They all come in. There's the headless Mac Miller. They're like, what the fuck happened to him? And they start to pass the story around of this person that's supposed to be Lazar's like hitman, who's called Valdez. And it's like one of these, again, it's a Kaiser Sose. It's a ghost, a rumor, a wives' tale amongst criminals in the criminal sect, where he does all these horrible stuff. He decapitates people. He gets into impossible circumstances and kills people. So he's he's the boogeyman now, Valdez. The Marine, when he hears that Valdez is involved, he's like, I'm out, fuck off. He goes to leave, but there's a big lot. There's, these big iron gates in front of the doors. So there's and then all these mechanized window covers shoot down and all the doors and windows get locked in. They realize they are now entirely locked into this house. So obviously we already knew this pretty much as the audience, but now it's incredibly obvious and it has been spelled out for us that they are trapped, with Abigail on purpose. Again, we kind of already, we were suspicious of this. Now it's very, clearly spelled out for us.
Yeah. It's clear that this was a trap for them, but you don't know why, but also you kind of don't care. And even,
no, you really don't.
Yeah. Even after it's revealed. And so it is the most dragging parts for me are these expository scenes. The first one where they're in the bar and Dean is trying to guess everybody who they are. And he's like, you're this guy and you're that guy. And then we get an even more extended explanation from Joey. And it's just Joey should have just been cop, rich girl, dumb muscle, Marine. And just rattle it off that quickly. And then we know. Yeah. And then everybody pays her the $100. So we know that she was right. And we go, okay. So now we know everybody's role. The later scene of Abigail just really explaining it out fully of who everybody is and how they wronged her father. It's just oh my God, already.
That was the worst scene in the movie. And that's the scene I wanted to talk about because I think when we get to it, I'll talk about it more. But yeah, that was the worst scene in the movie. Hated that scene. Took me out of it. The little bit I was into it took me out of it. And then I was just waiting for the movie to be over. And it was 40 minutes left after that scene, which is alarming. The other thing I didn't like, which really stretches throughout the movie and gets worse as the movie goes on, is the jokiness. And I love a horror comedy. Like a lot of these movies, especially
Ready or Not.
What was Ready or Not? For some reason I was saying Catch Me If You Can, which is the fucking
that could also be a title for that movie.
yeah, but that's the Leonardo DiCaprio, when he's
that's the
a
biopic of Frank Abigail.
con man, that movie has a lot of really not always subtle, but just like dry levity, right?
Yeah,
it's
Ready or Not
really
is
funny.
Ready or Not is Looney Tunes. Like it is, It is so slapstick with the way just people are bumped and falling, and like everybody is killed by accident, more or less. Like they're killed by accident or misadventure. So like, yeah, it's hilarious in that just kind of Looney Tunes ass way. And you can see a lot of the Looney Tunes ass stuff when they're running from Abigail in this movie. But
yeah, and they do a fine job with that. I don't mind that. I don't mind the big muscly guy running from the little girl. So if that's a funny bit. The jokiness, the jokey jokes in this movie really get old really quick.
Yeah.
Because they're not besides the fact that they're not good, well-written jokes, they are just they're a lot of like, oh brother, you know what I mean? They just feel like sitcom jokes, you know what I mean? I'll give an example here in a second, but Abigail starts like planting lies with Joey, tells him that the cop, which is Frank, is Valdez, which she just believes her at face value, which is believable. Like, why would you not believe this little girl? Like, who would guess this little girl is like playing everybody? But I mean, the entire audience, because we know she's a old ass vampire, but no, they don't. The Marine and Joey, we at this point I was like, oh, they don't know each other, which means their whole connection makes less sense. But the Marine is in all like hero mode. So he's like, we're going to get out of here and you're going to save your kid. Cause we've now learned that Joey was an addict and she like left her kid and then she got clean. Then she never went back into his life. And he's like apparently living with the father or whatever. But then, like we had already mentioned, the Marine immediately dies. And here's what was a missed opportunity, because they're all like, we're going to get it. We're going to get out of here. We're going to save your son. Let's fucking do it. I'm the badass Marine. We're going to be tough together. And then he turns around and goes the other direction. And then you just see him in the background. He's just standing there like all weird and stiff. And I was like, oh shit, his head's going to fall off. And that's going to be cool. Or he's going to slide in half. It's going to be a fucking ghost ship situation. You know what I mean? Nope. She just walks up to him and he's got like some like chunks ripped out of his face. I was just like, God damn, guys, you had a great opportunity to do something wild there and you didn't do it.
Yeah. They could have had him like holding his own intestines. They could
something.
Yeah. Like
they just really lamed it out. And even at that point I was like, oh, so he's not actually dead. He's going to come back and save the day later. Nope, he was dead.
No, that's it.
He just like, honestly, the bad guys in Home Alone had worse injuries than he did, but he did.
Yeah. It was just such an anticlimax to the presentation.
Because you had him in the background and they really played it out. You were going to see something wild. Nope.
Yeah.
Disappointment. So then you get the showdown with the whole crew and Abigail, where they're all arguing and you're the bad guy. Oh, you ratted us out. Oh, you did this. Abigail's fucking with us, whatever. And then all of a sudden you just see her. She starts like, this was another scene that could have been so much cooler, but they just fucked it up. They just weren't inventive enough in the way they shot the scene. They're all arguing and Abigail just slowly starts like slipping her hands out of the cuffs. And you're like, we already know but if she would have done something wild here, it might have been cooler, but she doesn't. She just slips her hands out of her cuffs. All of a sudden she has vampire teeth. I would say one of the probably like two memorable scenes in this movie. This is one of them where I think it's Frank turns around, shoots her in the head and like blood explodes on the wall.
Yeah.
And then she just sits up and she has a hole in her head. I mean, nobody thought she was really dead.
Right.
But then she just like wipes the bullet hole off of her head. Not the blood, the hole.
Yeah, it heals underneath the blood, and so she can just wipe the blood off. But yeah, it looks like she just wipes the bullet hole away. Later in the movie, when spoiler obviously, but I mean you should expect that at this point. When Kathryn Newton gets turned, and she is behind. She's behind Peter as they're walking, and Peter like kind of dips into the frame in a way that covers her up, and then dips out, and she's gone. Like that's a cool little piece of blocking that I like. They could have done something like that in this scene, where like Peter and Frank could have been nose to nose arguing, and like you could have started with like Abigail sitting on the bed, and then Peter and Frank are nose to nose in a way that covers her up, and then like Joey separates them to reveal that Abigail is now floating above the bed with with like demon teeth, and you go, oh no. You know? Like, yeah.
She could do, because we've established she can fly. We've established she's super strong when she feels like it. Like, I mean, we'll get into this, but there's some real inconsistencies in terms of the power level of the vampires, which is a pet peeve of mine. I know, if for any fans of the show know that inconsistencies in strength and power is a maybe it's back to my Dragon Ball Z days. I don't know, but like it's a real stick 'em across situation. Here's a good line, and I wish they would have just kept these like subtle like this, but not subtle. This isn't subtle, but it was like cartoonish in a way that like somebody who was under stress, you can imagine them saying something like this. He goes, who would kidnap a fucking vampire? And then I think it's Dean goes, a vampire ballerina. Dean's dead at this point. Wait, Dean's Mac Miller, the muscle guy. What the fuck's it? Paul? Peter, I'm getting my disciples mixed up. Peter goes, a vampire ballerina, which I thought was kind of a funny little gag. But he just says dumb shit a lot, right? The muscle guy, which is fine. But here's what I didn't like. They go back to that well too many times, which is forgivable. The thing I didn't like is Frank getting annoyed got old immediately. Frank's dialogue of having to say fuck every 5 seconds in a way, because listen, we all know people in our lives, you know, listen, if you grew up as white trash as many of us did here in Western Pennsylvania, you know people in your life that just say fuck every other sentence, or not even every sentence, multiple times per sentence. That's not unbelievable. Right. It's the fact that every time he said fuck, he said it in a way that made you think that he thought he was really getting it there. You know what I mean? Like,
there's so the scene we're in, he says it, and the line I like, but because what you're saying of like he says it so much, it actually takes the sting away from this one. Is that they've all escaped Abigail, and they're like in the library where they have like some cover from the light or whatever. They're regrouping, and they're making a plan, and I like the way he grabs up Peter, and he's like, hey, dumb, we have a situation. That's funny.
Yeah, sure.
And then he sends off Kathryn Newton to like find garlic. They're just trying to find all the stuff they think vampires hate. And when she comes back, he goes, Sammy, those are fucking onions. And that's a good line. But because every other line of his is like that as well, it dilutes that one. But like I still like that line.
That is a good line. It's a good line. And that actually works better than most. I think what it is like the fact that he thinks it's adding impact to everything, whereas somebody who says fuck that much doesn't do it for effect. They do it out of habit. So like I always think about this kid I used to work with. His name's Kevin. And when we were carnying, working food service, we worked with Kevin. Kevin was an absolute degen. I would imagine Kevin is dead by now. Kevin's armpits look like he never wore sleeves, and his armpits look like rhinoceros skin.
Great.
He one time all his teeth got rotted out, and my cousin made him a dentist appointment because he was in so much pain. He'd never been to the dentist in his life, and they made him a dentist appointment, and my cousin even offered to pay because they were like, you need to go to the dentist. He went to the dentist. They were like, oh, you have all of these teeth that are rotted out. You need to get them filled. They were like, how much? He didn't have insurance. How much for, and they were like $150, a filling. And they were like, he was like, how much to pull them? And he was like $15 a tooth. And he pulled like 20 teeth. He like pulled all his teeth out.
Jesus.
He was like 20 something years old. I was like, you need to take this dentist to court. Like, you should not have let them pull all your teeth out. No. He used to say, that was a tragic story, but my point is, Kevin used to say fuck, I would say twice a sentence on average.
Yeah.
But he didn't say it for impact. He said it in the same way that people say
You're
or
right, yeah.
like.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Like I actually
it was just
had
a filler
habit.
word for him.
Yeah, I had that habit for a minute, like probably when I was like in my 20s, that I would be thinking, and it's thinking what you're going to say next, and so it would just turn into, I'm going to go fucking, and then like you, yeah.
So that's what he talked like, and I know plenty of people who do that.
Right. Yeah. It's grown up degenerating. It's what happens.
Yeah,
to
it's just growing up white trash. You do that, right? It's having like a trucker dad or a trucker uncle. Like it's a trucker thing. But he does it in a way where he says it like with passion, like he's being impactful with what he's saying, and it just gets really, really old really fast.
And this might be, I don't know for sure, but it might be because he's British, the actor. And depending if he grew up a degen or not, if he didn't grow up as a chav, so he might not. So he probably grew up like prim and proper, and he just doesn't understand how dumb people from, especially our part of the country. So like his character is supposed to be from Queens, New York. So like people from the outer boroughs of New York, especially the Queens and Long Island, they for sure would have been saying, I'm going down to the fucking deli. I'm going to get a fucking bacon, egg, and cheese.
Yeah. not it's like, I'm going to go down fucking deli. It's not, I'm going to go down to the fucking deli.
Yeah.
It's, I'm going to go down to the fucking deli. Going to get a fucking pop. Going to get a fucking, get a fucking sandwich. Will you fucking want anything? Will you fucking want?
Yeah.
No. It's fucking this fucking that
deli.
Yeah, nobody talks like that.
I'm holding a fucking vampire in this fucking haunted mansion.
It's like, come over here in the fucking haunted mansions. The fucking vampire is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, he doesn't get where it fits into the linguistic pattern of somebody like that.
Yeah.
And it's annoying. It's annoying as hell. Also, all the sarcasm when they're in like mortal danger from a fucking vampire gets a little lame after a while. Couple times would have been fine. 10 times it's old. The muscle guy, which is, what is it? Peter?
Yeah.
Peter? Paul?
Peter.
Peter. Is he scared or is he not scared? Is he Lenny or is he a fucking killer? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think that's the one thing.
It's just inconsistent.
It's inconsistent. And again, it's the problem of when Abigail explains who they all are, she explains that he was a hired killer, which is different from the just being muscle. Like you could just be muscle to intimidate people or, like break fingers and shit like that. But she specifically
you're
says,
like a bouncer at a bar. You're big and you stay calm and that makes you a good bouncer.
Yeah. And so, but she specifically says that like he was snapping necks for the gang that he worked for. So like that makes him a killer. But like, he is on and off. He's
he's all about just going and shooting the little girl too. He's just like, this is my job.
Right.
Meanwhile, he's like weirdly scared of the ex-cop. You know what I mean? It's like, are you a scary guy or are you Lenny from Mice and Men?
Yeah. And then like there's times where like he's in confrontation with her and he's like he's put off, but then also he's opportunistic when he takes that header off the stairs and jumps on top of her. Like he's he's opportunistic about fighting her, but he's not like
that was a good bit. That was a good scene. I like that.
It's good. He
just gives her a crossbody.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like a WWE move. Just crossbodying.
He looks
a
like
little kid.
He's 275 and she's like 75 pounds.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so it looks really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, he just crushes a little girl. It's hilarious. But he should have either been much more Lenny and simple and like not a killer, because Frank is the killer. Like Frank is just willing to put people down.
Yeah. So they're hunting her, but she's hunting them, blah, 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 whatever. So again, the haunted house scenario is playing out. Here's the best scene in the movie. They go in to the room because they're looking for her now, because they decide that she has like they've got their vampire hunting kits, right? Mm-hmm. They've got some shit. They've got some wooden, broom handles that they've, got spikes now. They've got crosses. They've got garlic. They think that they're going to take her out in traditional vampire style. So they're hunting for her. They go into a room and she is like dancing, like ballroom dancing with Mac Miller's headless corpse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that was the scene where I'm like, oh, this might get wacky. And I'm here for it. Mm-hmm. But that really was the wackiest it got.
It was the wackiest they got. But this is actually what caused me to look up how old this actress was. Because this scene is legit fucked up. When she's dancing with the headless corpse and she's going through the motions of doing the Swan like act out dance. So she uses his hand to caress her face. But like while the body is caressing her face, she's like giving the acting looks of feeling like emoting with the actor as if it had a head. And I was like, yeah, that's fucked up to have. Like, she's clearly under 18, but like, how young is this person able to pull this off? And so I looked it up, and like, she's 15, and it's like, okay, that's still like, it's still a fucked up thing to have a young person do. But I guess at like 15, you could still be, like pretty used to like horror movies and shit like that. So yeah,
sure. And she does a great job. And like I said, this is the best scene in the movie, because they all walk in and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Right. She's dancing with the corpse. And then a whole big fight breaks out and it immediately becomes silly.
Yeah.
So first of all, the muscle guy, he's got like a crucifix and he holds it up, or it's around his neck or whatever. And she grabs it and starts giving him like a million little stabs all over his chest with the cross. Like little like pinprick stabs all over his chest. They go to try to spike her. She just grabs the spike and just sticks it straight through Frank's leg. She grabs the garlic and starts smelling it just to like taunt them, Yeah. And then they all were like, oh fuck, that was a horrible backfire. None of that worked. Let's all get the fuck out of here. Yeah. So they all bail and she just like lets them leave. Yeah. So she's fucking with them, right? Which again, at this point, I'm like, this is cool.
That's fine. I do like, I just one thing about when she's stabbing Peter in the chest. The other thing she does is like she takes all the blood that wells up off his chest and rubs it across her face. And it's like, that's a very pro wrestling thing. Like somebody will wipe the blood of their opponent on them and then the crowd will start chanting, you sick fuck. And like that. So that went through my head while she's like just dragging blood across her face.
I did. I immediately was like, I was like, what if she like, how cool would it have been if we learned later that like Lazar is actually Terry Funk?
Oh yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I'm a damn vampire. Come in here, kidnap my daughter. You're about to have a barbed wire death match in the middle of my haunted mansion.
I like to pretend that Terry Funk is Steve Austin's father.
Oh yeah,
like I always just was like, yeah. I mean, Steve Austin is doing just like a more charismatic Terry Funk.
Yeah,
but I do believe that is actually just Terry Funk in real life too. That's how he talks and acts. Just like sure, yeah. when he's at Denny's, like he's. Yeah.
I'm about to pay this bill unless you want to have a loser leaves Denny's match.
Loser leaves. He's just pressing someone's face on the griddle. So they then recoup, and here's what I didn't like. They're like joking, and like the cop, Frank, had a stake jammed through his thigh. I mean, good God, there's very few things to be more painful than that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's just still joking and being sarcastic. And I'm like, just let them be panicky. Let them be, you know. But then they decide, you know, Joey says like, well, we do have this syringe of the drug that put her out initially. And she was really out. And they were like, no, she was just fucking with it. She's like, no, I think she was really out. So that's their new plan is we're going to all gang up. We're going to get her. They're going to give her the sedative and that's how they're going to best her. But instead of them all going together and abiding by the plan they just laid out, they split up. Right. Even though they have one syringe, they split up. It's stupid. But then this scene was unnecessary and made everything seem more unbelievable, which was Sammy, who's the hacker, is wandering out and she falls into a just cesspit of decaying bodies.
Yeah.
Under the house. So it's like the Star Wars trash compactor scene meets like the fucking scene from what's the scene when they're spelunking and there's all the creepy creatures underground? It's the British movie, The Descent. It's like the Descent, like pool scene versus that, and she's just swimming in a bunch of decaying corpses, and I'm like, how didn't you smell that? Like the whole house, the whole neighborhood could smell that.
Yeah,
that was a real thing.
Reek. It should fucking reek.
But no, there's not even a mention of it.
And I just a question about this. We've seen the rats, and a bat is what scares Kathryn Newton into falling into the body pool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Are we kind of supposed to believe that Abigail is turning into these animals to fuck with them?
That's a good question. I don't think so, because. And the only reason I don't think so is because every single thing regarding Abigail is so spoon-fed to us in this movie. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they would do anything. I don't think this movie doesn't have a subtle bone in his body. So I would think the answer is no, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Just because
like, everything they do is so ham-fisted.
Yeah.
Like
true. Just curious, because I mean it would be like a clever little technique or just a clever little thing to keep under the hat of like, oh yeah, she does have the power to turn into animals, but we just don't reveal it in a specific
I feel like
way.
that's like a deeper layer of vampire lore too. Mm-hmm. Whereas like bats, that's surface level. Everybody knows about the bats thing. But like, I feel like it's a little bit of a deeper level of vampire lore to know that vampires can turn into wolves and rats and really any animal for that matter. Right. Whereas I think most people just think of the bats.
Or a 7-foot praying mantis. Not everybody knows that they can turn into 7-foot praying mantises.
No, nobody knows that. Except for what's his fucking name?
Dario Argento and Rutger Hauer. They both know it.
Rutger Hauer knows for sure. Dario Argento. I still can't believe that scene exists. So here's where the things with Peter the muscle guy just starts to get really, really over the top. He's got this splinter in his finger. He's like complaining about the splinter over the like walkie-talkie, and like it's meant to be funny. It's not funny at all. And then he runs from Abigail, and it's kind of comedic chase scene, which I'm okay with. And even her doing her little ballerina spins, I'm like, oh, she's toying with him. Right. So that could be funny. But the fact that he was just complaining about the splinter in his finger, like he's just become way too cartoonish. Yeah. That character.
Yeah, it's too cartoonish, and he's too, again, not believable as the muscle. Like when it's time for him to do his damn job, it's like, well, what do you like? We don't believe that you're not going to get killed. Like that's the other thing is we just know this character is going to get killed. There's nothing to tell us that like he's going to survive in any way. He's, you know, it is funny. I don't think the splinter gag is funny, but I just think the way he screams is funny. that makes me laugh.
But the chasing thing, I think the chase scene's fine. The splinter thing was just like so unnecessary, just heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But then he's able to hold her down. But I guess the excuse could always be that she's letting him do that.
Maybe.
But there's a lot of inconsistency with her strength, which I've explained is such a pet peeve of mine. Is like sometimes she can just like kick metal doors off their hinges. Other times, just one dude can hold her down.
Yeah.
Come on. Like she's been ripping motherfuckers' heads off.
Yeah.
And now one guy holds her down, and then they're able to get her with the syringe.
It would have been funny if, like, in this scene where again he does the crossbody off the top of the stairs, if like he literally just knocked the wind out of her, and so she was just on the ground going oh
doing
like,
the Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's the reason why, like, if it was literally framed as that he broke a bunch of her ribs and punctured her lungs, and that gave just enough time. We established later that she heals quickly. Yeah. What if that happened and it just took her 30 seconds to heal? That would have made sense. But instead they're like, no, he holds her down. It's like, how's he holding her down? I thought she was all power, this super powerful thing. The hacker at this point has been bitten. We see that. And they don't really know what that means. She's panicking. Abigail wakes up and they've got her trapped in this like this lift, right? This old style, like kind of caged elevator. And Abigail goes on and explains everything that anybody, with half a brain that's watching this movie already knew. And she adding on that she knows everyone and all of them did something against her dad's criminal empire that we as an audience had no way of knowing and was never hinted at, really, in most instances, which makes it like a non-starter for me. If it would have been a thing where it's like, oh, well, here was something they mentioned earlier and now we're connecting the dots of what they did. But instead it's like, and Frank, you were a guy who did a thing that we never talked about one time before, and that made him mad, and now I'm mad at you. Like, okay, you're just making this to the audience. You're making this up on the spot. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah.
None of this was ever established. And the monologue explaining all this, you had kind of mentioned earlier, for me was painful. Just painful. Not only unnecessary, but it gave this 15-year-old actor so much heavy lifting. And she just, I don't want to say she wasn't up to the task. I really think she was pushing a boulder up a mountain at this point.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it has nothing to do with her or her age. This fucking giant block of text that she has to recite is fucking bad for anybody. Like, that's
what I'm saying.
Good.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It's poor dialogue. They asked her to do it all on her own, carry this whole scene, and they gave her no ammunition to do it with. And also, the dialogue itself, she doesn't sound like a centuries-old vampire. She sounds like a little girl trying to sound like a grown-up.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, I don't think that's a take on her acting. I think it's the dialogue was really sucky.
Yeah. You never feel the switch of her going, like, there's the obvious switch of her going from a little girl to a vampire, but you never feel the switch that she is, like hundreds of years old, and so she should be more mature. There's a little bit in this scene of her still playing coy because she's allowed herself to stay in this cage until
she's still playing with them, so
until she's alone with one of them is what her goal is. She just wants to get one of them alone, and then she's going to try to kill him. but like, yeah, you never feel it like you're being talked down to by like Tilda Swinton or something. Or Helen Mirren. If she suddenly somehow adopted like so the actress is also born in Ireland, right?
Okay.
So if she switched from using an American actress or on an American accent to an old British accent,
that'd be great.
Maybe that would have helped sell the idea that like she's been around for hundreds of years, because she just still talks like she's from the old country, like where she's
or like a Romanian accent or something.
Yeah.
Like it just there's no switch. There's no switch in the way she talks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same inflections. I don't know. And the fact that she's just explaining everything and what she's going to do and why, she just becomes like a Bond villain now, you know?
Yeah.
And the connections also, even the connections, which are all very contrived and really have no bearing on the story before or after the scene.
Mm-mm.
Some of those connections are very tedious too.
Yeah.
Like they're bad. And then this is where I'm like, there's 40 minutes left in this movie. I'm going to jump off a bridge. And then also I hated that Lazar was real, because the whole idea was that she is the Phantom. She is Lazar. She is the hitman too, which is Valdez or whatever.
Right.
But no, we start to learn, like, I was like, wait, Lazar is real? And Lazar is actually her father? That's lame.
No, I was fine with that. I think that's because it's selling that idea that like she's been on the outs with her father for whatever
I know why
reason.
they had to do it. I just thought it was lame. If she was the brains of the whole operation and she had like this was all manipulation, that would have been better in my mind. And the scene at the end when the dad shows up, Jesus Christ, that was horrible. But anyway, so now we're starting to understand that maybe Lazar actually is real. But then this is all for entertainment for her. So she's been turning them against each other. She continues to do that in this scene. You know, Joey ends up shooting. There's this kind of tense showdown between Joey and Peter, but then she just shoots him, like grazes him, and like there's no consequence to it. It's pretty lame. If Joey would have actually shot and killed Peter, I feel like that would have added a lot more gravity to that whole interaction. But instead, it's just like she might as well have just slapped him on the nose and said like, no.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, you know,
which on one hand is a great way to sell how tough a character is, like how big and strong that guy is, that he can get shot and it's okay. Like that's a great way to sell that idea. But we've already seen him be too much of a wussy. You know what I'm saying? Like we just got done with this whole fucking splinter in the thumb thing, but now he gets shot and reacts less to getting shot than the splinter in the thumb, which it's kind of funny, but like at the same time, it like this character is all over the place and it just feels.
Yeah, literally, he was like, it's a really big splinter. And now he literally shot in the side, and he's like really seemingly making less of a big deal about it. So then we realize, you know, they all kind of bail out, and then it's just Frank and Abigail there, and it's revealed that it was not actually trapped in the elevator. And Frank being this like streetwise cop who's the leader of these quote unquote professional criminals, he's a fucking moron. The character is a moron. Like he goes right up to her. He just acts on ego constantly. She reveals that she could easily get out. And that this was all a game. She just like, you know, kicks the door off the hinges easily. So Joey ends up breaking a part of one of the window shades, and then sunlight, as there's a chase scene that ensues after she gets out, and Abigail gets like one of her arms just basically exploded off with sunlight. Her arm, like from the, you know, below the wrist up, just is gone, but then it starts to grow back pretty quickly. So like within a matter of minutes, her hand grows back. So we now have also learned how Abigail's going to die. So we know as an audience, like, well, we know the end of the movie. But actually not true. There's a little bit of a twist, I'll say. Before she gets out of the cage, Frank makes a deal with her. The deal, of course, she was just fucking with him on, is that there's a escape, fake wall in one room, and hey, look underneath the book to the right or whatever, and you'll find a fake door or a hidden door or whatever in the bookshelves. And then they go into the library, and Frank finds a book, and it's a bit he does where he pulls the book back, and you think the book's gonna like open the thing. Why is he so sure it's that book?
Because she said the title of the book.
Oh, did she? Okay,
yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, he's so sure, and it's this big setup of what the book is, and then he opens it and nothing happens. So
yeah, no,
I missed that point.
Said, she said it in the cage. I think it's, and then there were none by Agatha Christie, and then
yeah. You're right. I forgot she says that.
Yeah.
So they can't get out. It was a fake. She was fucking with them. And so they have this little heart to heart in the library, and they talk about, Joey's son and whatever. And Frank's being the dick. All of a sudden the hacker is like, wait a second, I can hack the house. And they're all like, really? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And then she goes, I just need to find the power source, and then I can shut it off, and then we could leave. Okay.
Sure.
So they all go searching for the power source to the house. I don't know. They're all friends now, and they all care about each other, maybe with the exception of Frank. But even then, Frank's kind of suggesting maybe they do. It's boring and dumb that they like each other. Like, I hate that they all have this like connection now.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary. It's unearned. 12 hours ago, they were quote unquote professionals, and now they're all getting huggy kissy with each other.
Like, it makes sense between Peter and Sammy because they were flirting with each other earlier in the film.
Sure.
But it doesn't really make sense for Joey or Frank to have like any sort of like softness to them about these people. Like, you're in this for money, $7 million, get in, get out. You're, like I said, quote unquote, professional criminals. You're supposed to have, no connection here, but no, they're best friends now. So they split up to go find her, whatever. The hacker and Peter are a team, and she turns into a vampire. We talked about this scene a little bit. She kills him, drinks all his blood. The neck effects are bad in this scene. The neck effects?
When she's when she's drinking the blood out of his neck, his neck becomes 5 inches thicker than it was from frame to frame.
Oh, okay.
It's poorly done. And it's like, up to this point, like some of the gore and blood stuff was like, it was actually pretty good, So that, I don't know why that's stuck in my craw, but
I think this is the scene or the reason why they had Kathryn Newton cast, because like up until this point, she really hasn't done much in an interesting way. Like, she's just kind of been screamy, scared white girl. But it's
quirky maybe, but little else.
Yeah, but like, it's this scene that really sells the reason why they cast her, because it fucking rules. When she does turn into a vampire, and she bites his neck and she rips like the skin off his neck, and like the way she's like darting her tongue out of her mouth is so fucking like unpleasantly gross. And then she just has these looks that she's giving like her, and then looks that she's giving him, and then like almost to the camera that she's like looking up from as she feeds on him. It's like, oh, okay, this is great, because she has this ability to turn this switch from being like a normal person to being like a freak. She's a little freak at this point.
Yeah, and it's very dissonant compared to the rest of the movie. You know, I would say this scene and the scene where Abigail is dancing with Mac Miller's corpse, those two scenes are turned up to 10 and the rest of the movie is hovering at a 6. Yeah. So that's why the inconsistent tone is a little weird for me, but yes, that is that was a high point, I think. So then the next scene here is the scene that I will venture to say is the reason that Dan made us watch this movie. Which the whole time I'm watching this, I'm going, this is fine. You know what I mean? And I'm being a little bit of a grump about it because I you know, it's fine. Like I said, this is a mediocre movie. But then this scene, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Out of nowhere, we get what I can only describe as a psychic dance montage to the song Blood and Tears by Glenn Danzig.
Hell yes.
And I'm like, okay, now I know why we're watching this fucking movie. Like, now I get it. It was for the Glenn Danzig dance montage.
Yep. So like I had seen this movie before Dan suggested we do the episode. And I texted you and I was like, when I was watching it and this scene popped on, I texted you and I was like, oh shit, this movie just got 10 bonus points.
I remember you text me that and I didn't see it until later.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not even going to ask because I'm going to watch the movie. And I totally forgot you texted me that. But yes, this is why. It's a Danzig psychic dance montage.
Yeah. And for all of the shit we give Glenn Danzig on this show, I unironically believe Lucifuge 2, which features Blood and Tears, is one of the best like hard rock heavy metal albums, just period. It's a great fucking album. Great fucking album made by one of the dumbest people to ever live.
Undeniably. That's one thing. As you get older, you realize that some of the music you like the most is made by some of the dumbest idiot people who are just for whatever reason nailed just stepped on an inspiration landmine and we're able to put this together. But yes, that is a fantastic album. I remember once upon a time I owned the box set of that album. I have no fucking idea where it is now.
Was it like No, never mind. Sorry, I was getting confused. I was thinking of the Misfits box set that came in the little coffin. If you remember.
I had that one too, because that was the one that had the like was that the one that had the 8-inch of the Halloween recording and stuff in it? I forget. I used to have a few of these. I think I sold them back in the day. I went through a like in college thing where I need to where I was like, oh fuck, I needed money for whatever reason and sold some shit I wish I wouldn't have sold. And some of my albums and box sets and stuff like that were among them. But yeah, I remember going to a record store in Wexford and buying that fucking box set.
Did you go to a Coconuts or did you go to an FYE? Or
I think we didn't go to an FYE. Where the fuck did we go for that? I don't remember. I actually don't remember, but I remember going with my friend Clint and Chris because they were both big Misfits Danzig fans too. But anyway, that was back in the old skateboarding days. So the hacker chases Joey and the cop because the hacker is a vampire now. Remember, Abigail is like acting through the hacker, Sammy, and speaking through her. So she's very much like using her as a vessel. And just as she's about to kill him, Joey grabs like the silver tray, holds it up, reflects some sunlight through the window, hits her, and she fucking explodes. Fairly unceremonious, but yeah, it was effective nonetheless. They end up then getting lured to this like control room type of place where Gus is there from the beginning, Lambert, and he's a vampire, and he very quickly barfs out some explanation as to why he's there, explains that Abigail turned him And we knew that him and Frank kind of knew each other, and that Frank was kind of the person who got the job and built the team and all this stuff from Lambert. But he explains that he was turned by Abigail, and then basically his job is to bring Abigail her father's enemies so she can fuck with them, basically, is what she's been doing this whole time. But he explains that he's done. He's over this. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And I was also like, at this point, why can't Abigail control his mind? Because Abigail was controlling Sammy's mind a second ago. If she turned her, why can't Abigail control Gus's mind? So I thought that this was another game from Abigail, because she can actually control Gus's. I'm saying Gus because it's Gus Fring, but right, yeah. Lambert. She's controlling him, and this is all just another way of fucking with him. But Gus then offers Frank a deal to double cross Lazar and Abigail, and basically say, like, we'll kill it. I'll turn you. We'll both be vampires. We'll kill Abigail, and then we'll kill Lazar when he comes. I was like, well, that sounds a little too easy, but okay. So this is really when I thought Abigail was just fucking with them through Lambert. But then also I was like, okay, so then Frank goes, okay, cool, turn me. So he bites him, and then he's like, here, now you have to drink my blood, and that's what's going to turn you. And I was like, why wasn't that necessary with the hacker? The hacker just turned kind of organically, or does that expedite things? And is that why the hacker took so long?
So no, I think what it is that by Gus giving up his blood to Frank is what frees you from being psychically controlled.
Oh, okay. All right. I can buy that. Yeah. I can buy that. So that means you're like, you're equals here instead of, you're a minion vampire.
Yeah, because if the vampire bites you, it has control over you. But if you drink its blood, now you are on equals, like you just said. So,
but if that was the case and he wanted to do away with Lazar, why didn't Gus just go out and turn a bunch of people, build a goddamn vampire army, and then just go kill Lazar and Abigail with his goddamn vampire army that he controls?
Nobody said Lambert was like a genius or anything. We've only seen him in a couple scenes.
There's a big stretch between genius and a thing I just pulled out of my ass in 5 seconds. But yeah. Anyway, this lore is soft. So Frank just does a bunch of like CGI projectile blood vomiting, and then he's a vampire now. He's got the teeth. He's got the whole shebang. So then they decide, like, okay, well, we got to kill Joey. That's what Gus is like. All right, this is going to be your first victim as a vampire. And just as they're about to kill Joey, Frank double crosses Gus and stabs him with the old spike right through the back of the chest and through his heart, and kills him. Mm-hmm. So, and he's like, well, fuck you. That's for double, tricking me in the first place. Abigail shows up and she's like, y'all are fucked, which you think they are, because you think at this point, I think Abigail set everything up, but not actually, because the cop just really quickly gets the upper hand on Abigail. And I'm like, is Abigail like a weak level vampire? Because she's being portrayed as this like badass through the centuries.
Yeah, I think it's...
And Frank just got turned and he whoops her ass in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's more, it was just supposed to sell it as the surprise. I also did want to point out, after Frank blows up Gus, there's a cool shot of him that like where he's just like covered in blood and his glasses are covered in blood. And he looks, even though he's looked like Christian Slater.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I know what you, because it's your favorite fucking vampire movie. He looks like Bill Paxton in Near Dark.
I didn't write it down in my notes, but in that scene, I actually questioned for a quick second whether that was on purpose, because he was given some big Paxton vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think him getting Abigail in the scene is just mere surprise on her part, because it's framed that he has her or he has his back to her. So when she makes a run at him, he can just quickly turn and then bite her. And she wasn't expecting that. And that's all it is.
Sure. Okay. So Joey goes and like hides in the wall. And then instead of like trying to run away and escape, she leaves her kid a very traumatizing voicemail. So good job as a mom. Basically a goodbye voicemail about, hey, I'm going to die. I'm like, wow, that's really going to help him in life.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden Frank is the fucking super powerful vampire. But not really, because Joey kind of like holds her own against him. Like he's dicking with her, but also like I know I'm belaboring this, but the variable, inconsistent strength between the vampires and the humans, and it sticks in my craw.
Yeah, they're strong enough to decapitate and rip like your face and throat out barehanded, but also at the same time, they'll go hand to hand with you just to fuck with you. Like he knocks
for a while too.
Yeah, he knocks her not only across the library but up a floor.
Picks her up, throws her ass.
Yeah,
like she's a pillow.
Right. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's annoying to me. I don't love it. I don't let it bother me too much because this movie's already just proved that it's supposed to be stupid. Like it's not, like when a movie just says like, I'm going to be dumb. Again, back to Godzilla and Kong. That movie is one of the dumbest films I've seen in a long time. But like it's one. Okay, let me put it another way. It's one of the dumbest films not named Fast and the Furious. So
yeah. Okay.
But like the fact that it just telegraphs how dumb it's going to be, I'm just like, okay, whatever. It just be dumb bubblegum for me then. I don't care. Like you're not going to be Shin Godzilla and you're not going to be Godzilla -1. Like God forbid you try to attempt that because you'll fuck it up. Don't do that. Yeah. Be Dum Dum Time. And I'll just have Dum Dum Time. I don't care.
Yeah. I agree with that. Don't try to go too self-serious because you're not going to be able to pull it off. I think part of it too was like, I remember one of the most, for some reason, two of the most wildly disappointing theater experiences I've ever had in my life. Both involved Johnny Depp. One of which was, I grew up as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was my favorite movie when I was a kid, like a little kid, obsessed. And watched, I mean, I've watched that movie 100 times. I could recite that movie, like almost word for word. And then when the Johnny Depp one came out, I was like, oh, this is going to be like closer to the Roald Dahl book, who as I was a huge fan of when I was a kid. It's going to be a little darker. It's going to be a little weirder. And then I went and I hated it. I hated it. Upon closer consideration, it's not that bad. I hated the CGI Oompa Loompas who were all the same guy. I hated that. Ugh. Anyway, I was super disappointed by the whole thing. It's not good, but it's not as bad as at the time. I was like, I want to set the place on fire.
Yeah.
The other movie that was not quite as big of a disappointment, but was a huge disappointment for me, was Dark Shadows.
Oh,
because I really genuinely enjoy Dark Shadows, the show, which for those of you who aren't familiar, it is a goddamn vampire soap opera. Literally a vampire soap opera, a gothic vampire soap opera. It rules. It's so weird. It's so like weirdly low budget too. Like you'd see like boom mics in the shots. It's so weird and I love it. And then I was like, oh, Johnny Depp's they're making a Dark Shadows movie? How bizarre, of all the properties, you know? And then I went and saw it and it was abysmal. And it ended with this big, dumb CGI fight scene.
Oh, wow.
And it looked so much like this scene. The setting, everything. And I just could not stop thinking about the fucking Dark Shadows movie. So maybe that's why I'm being soup. Oh God,
I've never seen it, so yeah. Like I haven't seen much of the TV show either, so
it couldn't have less to do with the show. The TV show is weird vampire melodrama.
Yeah.
The movie is an abomination if you know anything about the show. Anyway,
that's funny.
It just reminded me so much of the final fight scene from that, and I hated every second of it. But yeah, she launches her up 2 floors. They have a whole big fight. Abigail is like weak as fuck, but then she tries to explain it by like, "Oh, sorry, I'm weak. You need to I need to turn you so you can not be weak, and we can double team, Frank." And then they have a straight up Mortal Kombat style fight with like the way it's shot. Abigail does a bunch of unnecessary like ballet contortion moves because that's her character type in the hand-to-hand fighting game that we're watching right now. And like Joey spiked to a shield or some sort of, I think it's a shield off scene or off screen. And Abigail's like, if you're going to have to kill me, if you want to kill me, you're going to have to drain me. And you're like, why would you tell the new vampire information like that? But they're telling the audience. I understand, but it's dumb. She ends up trying to drain, or Frank ends up trying to drain Abigail, but he doesn't completely. He pulls her off the spike and then turns her because his whole idea is like, now Joey is going to be his like slave vampire, basically. And then now all of a sudden, Frank is like, instead of being like smarmy dickhead cop, now he's the most evil person in the world. It's like, I want you to be my slave so then I can make you kill your son. And like, why does Frank care about her son all of a sudden? This
is one of the biggest hangups I have. Like everything else, I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's a silly, goofy movie. But Frank's turn from just like dipshit, like we've already said it throughout most of the film, he's a dipshit. Like he's
just doing gags.
Yeah, he's doing gags, even though he's not recognizing them as gags. He's still just a dipshit who is full of himself. But he's not particularly evil. He's just a dipshit who's willing to. I mean, he's evil in the sense that he's willing to hurt kids. Like that's evil. Yeah. But then
he's loose cannon evil, not like sadistic evil.
Yeah. But then in the scene where he gets turned by Gus, it's obvious his plan is to get turned by Gus so he can kill Gus back. And then he'll have power to protect himself from Abigail and Lazar.
Right.
In none of this, though, should he care about Joey. Like Joey,
or Joey's kid.
Like they've been combative, but there's just not enough. Like there's not enough sense for him to actually give a fuck about her at all.
The beef's not there.
No,
they've kind of nipped at each other, but she's never wronged him in any significant way,
right?
Or vice versa,
right? It's not like
It's
not like she shot him in that elevator scene.
That would have made better sense.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what it is. Like if she had shot him at one point, okay. But yeah, there just isn't enough meat for them to have beef. Now that Frank has power, he shouldn't even be thinking about her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She should be an afterthought. But yeah, Frank tries the mind control on Joey. And is basically like, you're gonna have to spike Abigail. So here's the other part that sucks about this scene. Why do we care about Abigail? All of a sudden we care about Abigail. Abigail's been a bad guy this whole time.
Right.
Like Abigail, besides having this like very loose connection with Joey early on, saying, I'm sorry, what's gonna happen to you? All of a sudden we care that Joey has to spike the fucking vampire murderer. Like Joey, he's going to make Joey kill the monster. Who cares? We don't care.
No.
And he's just like, again, he keeps doing saying the fuck a lot in the way that's annoying. And, but it doesn't work. They team up, they kill Frank. they basically just get on top of him and shove a stake in him in anticlimactic, dumb way. But the lines when they deliver the kill to Frank is Abigail. And she says, the thing about being a vampire, Frank, is it takes a long time to learn how to do all the cool shit. And then Frank goes, oh, shit, and explodes when they spike him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you guys suck at your jobs. That's what I'm saying. Like, I up to this point, I'm just like, maybe in 15 years from now, we'll watch this and laugh because of how it'll be maybe campy. I don't know. But right now, it's just like, come the fuck on.
Yeah. I mean, it's campy for me now, but yeah, it's just they didn't write a good, strong ending because they tried to do the double turn. They tried to make Bret Hart the bad guy while Stone Cold becomes the good guy in the end, but you can't do that because you didn't earn it. Like, there's no reason Abigail has not earned being a good guy. The only thing we have for them to team up is Frank is trying to kill both of them. That's the only reason for them to team up. But they
just share an enemy, common enemy. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. Like, fucking Joey should have tried to spike Abigail as soon as Frank blew up.
Yep. We're supposed to care about Joey. We care about Joey. We do not care about Abigail. Yeah. At this point.
Yeah.
And we don't know why Abigail cares. We don't know why Joey cares about Abigail.
Because the film,
because she saved her, I guess she ran in and saved her.
But she
did it because of her own level of self-preservation, because she needed her help too.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, she saved her at that last moment with the catch. But really, what the film is trying to do is play on something that we've already dispelled, which is Abigail being a kid.
Like, she's not. She's hundreds of years old.
Yeah, yeah. But they try to drag us back to that by like making her less powerful, making her seem innocent, making her in a likable way, and then
vulnerable. Yeah.
And then introducing her father in a way that I
hated this. I'm eager to talk about this because I hated it so much. Side note, Joey isn't going to be a vampire now, even though she got bit, because Frank is dead. So like her vampire turned her is dead. So which is consistent with, some forms of vampire lore. So fine. You kill the head vampire and all the other people turn back.
Right.
But she's farther down the vampire hierarchy. Then the vampire, meaning Abigail, gives Joey some quick parenting advice. And I'm like, okay, you're hundreds of years old. Okay, you're assumedly wise, whatever. But it feels a little out of character for the murderous vampire who literally has for hundreds of years just brought people to a home to treat them like foxes on a fox hunt.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you care about this person and you're giving her parenting advice? Seems dumb. Then Daddy Vampire, aka Lazar, shows up, and he's a fucking dork. He's dressed like a professor from a 90s movie. He looks like an extra in Cruel Intentions.
I thought it was a Doctor Who. I was like, is that a Doctor Who?
Yeah, he could be a Doctor Who. He's got a turtleneck. He's got a long coat. He could be a Doctor Who. Abigail and her dad have this moment where where she's like, you don't love me. And he's like, maybe I would if I show my love in a different way. I'm a vampire. And then they just have this dumb little fucking dialogue. And then essentially Abigail stands up for Joey and basically says like, hey, I'm going to stand up to my dad. And he's like, they grow up so fast, he doesn't literally say that, but that's kind of the sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lazar lets Joey go. And the line when he lets her go is, you should leave. It's getting awfully close to dinner time. Joey goes outside. She finds a lollipop she was eating earlier. And was that, I was like, does that mean she's going back on drugs? I'm not sure.
No.
And then she just like drives away. I know that's not what it means, but that's like, it was confusing.
Right.
And then she drives away. And this stupid ass song plays, like this like weird, like poppy rap song plays. It's fucking terrible. It's terrible. It's a terrible ending.
I thought that song was actually done by the Mac Miller kid. I was like, is this the Mac Miller kid song?
That was why they paid. Yeah, that was part of his contract.
Yeah. This is also where you get like the most Ready or Not vibes, because Melissa Barrera is covered in blood, and like as she walks out of the house, she just says fuck, and then like sits down in the van and puts a fucking lollipop in her mouth. And it's basically the exact same ending as Ready or Not, where Samara Weaving is covered in blood and then just lights up a ciggy. So yeah.
The only thing that would have made it better is if she would have ran out the door and the fucking razor wire got her head off. Anyway, so here's the final take. So that's the end of the movie. This movie is wildly predictable. Pretty dumb.
Yeah.
And kind of fun.
Yeah.
So like there's some cool set pieces, like there's some decent performances. That's really it. There was a few annoying characters. The dialogue generally sucks. Yeah, it's dumb. I would say at best it's dumb fun. At worst, it's I don't know, cynical and annoying. You don't. Here's the thing. It's not made for me. I get it. You don't have to pay attention to it. You're not going to get bored because you miss something if you walk away or look at your phone for 5 or 10 minutes. You don't have to pay close attention. You can be stoned and eat popcorn and still have a good time. So yeah, it's fine.
It's definitely a movie that's too long. Like 2 hours is fucking crazy. It should be 90 minutes or less. And then
I wish that people were okay with that now.
Yeah.
Like people feel like they're not. Is it because, and this is a genuine question, do people feel like they're not getting their money's worth?
I think it is that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what guides it, because if you're going, especially for theater releases, if you're going to release a movie to the theaters and you're going to go to the theaters, I don't know that it's backed up by people, but I think it's backed up by like what studios think people want, because
there's some sort of industry insights that support this. But
because like you think about Netflix, and Netflix will dump 8 episodes of an hour-long show, and so you just have 8 hours of content to consume, and you won't leave your house in that time. But in order to go to the theaters, you go to the theater, you pay their fucking crazy ticket prices, and maybe you're dumb enough to buy concessions instead of sneaking them in, or just don't eat in the theater. And like you go through all of that, and if you didn't spend at least 2 hours in that place, you might feel ripped off.
See, between the previews, which I like to go and watch the previews and all that stuff, I would see more movies in the theater if there were more movies that had like a 90 to 100 minute runtime. Because I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't want to be at the theater for 3 fucking hours.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to go in, get my popcorn, or my freaking, Junior Mints, sit down, watch me. That was like when I watched, what did we do? The last movie that we saw specifically for this was, it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I was running late for whatever reason, I forget. And I walked in just as the feature was starting, which I usually am there way before that. I walked in just as the feature was starting. I sat down. I had my, my drink and my candy, and I sat there, watched it, and it was a pretty tight movie.
Yeah.
It was like under an hour 45, and I was out the fucking door. I was like, that was great.
Yeah.
It's fun, quick, tight, experience.
Yeah. I agree, but also I see the value in like having a big experience, because like the last
if it was a whole evening, I get it. Yeah.
It depends on the film, though, is what I'm trying to say, is because the last film that I saw in a theater was Godzilla -1. And that is like an experience you want for like 2 hours or so, because...
Well, that's a big epic movie. Yeah,
exactly. So you want that one to be the 2 hour, like I'm going out for a night and I get to experience like the amazing sound design and I get all that stuff in. But this film isn't that film. So this film should learn to be... This film would be great at a fucking drive-in if it was 90 minutes, because you could watch this, get an HJ, watch the explosive fucking vampire ending, and then get a new film in. Like it's yeah. Like bop, bop, bop.
Well, and Thanksgiving I also saw as a matinee too. So I got the matinee price.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like maybe it's a... We're getting way off topic.
I
almost feel like we should have like a pricing tier. You know what I mean? There should be like a completely different pricing strategy at the theater, where it's like, if a movie is, certain movies should cost more. It's like video games. You have like a AA release, you're going full price. Yeah. But if it's an indie, an indie movie, an indie game, you might be getting it for $20 or $30.
I think that kind of happens a little bit, because like you said, there's the matinee price, which I saw Thanksgiving on the matinee. There are some independent films that play at like bigger theaters, and they only play like the pre nighttime pricing, because they only...
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, there's some. It's very rare, and like you just have to kind of look to see what the film is. Like, and it's theater to theater, because it's all about scheduling how many screens are dedicated. So like,
sure.
So like, 2:45, it'll be like an indie feature, but by the nighttime, when people are coming out to the theater for their event, it changes over to whatever big tentpole Marvel bullshit or, Mission Impossible film it is. So like that does happen in some theaters, but yeah, I agree, you should have like cheaper fucking movies. If they're like, if you have a 90-minute shitty, horror movie out there, make it $4. What the hell?
I was gonna say, or even $10 for Christ's sakes. Yeah. Like,
it's back to like old men screaming. It's just like, well, what happened to our dollar theaters?
Oh man, in the college, I lived at the dollar theater.
Dollar theaters were so fucking great.
Dude, in Youngstown, we had a dollar theater. I would see every single movie that came out for 5 years. I saw every movie that came out. I just saw it 4 months after it came out. Yeah. And we would get like, and then also you didn't mind going and buying, back then it was maybe like $4, $4.50 for a box of candy, because you're like, I'm getting in for $1.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I saw so much trash when we lived near the dollar theater. It was so much fun. Sometimes I would go. There were days when I went and watched 3 movies in a day. I was there all day.
Yeah, yeah. And like, what I mean, that's what the dollar theaters were for. That was.
I love that.
There were a number of dollar theaters up in Boardman, just because I remember going up. I remember going up there that way myself. But then,
I went to the one in Boardman all the time.
There was
Cinemark. Was it Cinemark? No. What was it?
No, it was like,
I could picture it. No, it wasn't Cinemark. No. It was Hollywood something.
Yeah. It was I think it was Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood Cinemas. I think it was called. Yeah, that place was great.
There was one in Bridgeville for a while too. That you just go in and get cheaper movies, but nope. They just send them the VOD and they say, "Fuck you."
Yeah, guys, this movie, if I would have paid, actually, you don't want to know what I paid to watch this movie, because I went on Amazon Prime. I think I paid. I get credits because I have an Amazon credit card.
Oh yeah, but
I still think I paid $16 to watch this movie. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Anyway, guys, that was Abigail from 20 and 24. And you know what? We got a Danzig montage.
Hell yeah.
in it, so it ain't all bad.
Hell yeah.
If you've got suggestions, once again, let me remind you, if you got suggestions for Minisode ideas, throw them our way. Go over to the old social medias at Halloween's Forever. Slide into the old DMs and let us know. Also, if you are thinking about it, you definitely should go over and subscribe, patreon.com/Halloween's Forever. And if you have some sort of weird Christian horror movie that you're like, you got to check this out, please let me know, because I'm doing all the research, trying to find out the best ones. But, these are little tiny productions. So if you got one floating around out there that this shit's wild, you got to try it out. Please let me know, because I am fielding any and all suggestions on that front. Anything else, Steve? I should know. We should.
I'm pissed.
Chime in on.
I'm pissed.
Yeah, what are you pissed about?
So at the end of the month, that fucking slasher film in a violent nature comes out. And it just falls in a bad place for us to do it as an episode, because if it comes out like the day, it comes out a couple days before the June Showdown, so we won't be able to do that as an episode right away. So that just has me pissed.
Guys, get your shit together, studios. Make it easy for us to do them as episodes. There's actually some cool stuff coming out here in the next couple of months.
Oh yeah,
that I'm excited to see. A lot of good stuff. So
yeah, in a violent nature, the Nicolas Cage film Long Legs is
that looks wild.
Yeah, had great marketing so far. So I have no fucking clue what the movie's about, and I'm not interested in finding out. I want to be surprised.
Nope, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
That's the other thing. I wasn't surprised by this movie because I saw the trailer and knew it was a vampire girl. So you don't get any of the Predator twist surprise.
I saw Ballerina and I said, all right, she's a damn demon, or she's a damn Dracula, or she's a damn old ghost or something. I mean, she's something.
Yeah.
She's something supernatural.
She's a thing.
Supernatural vampire. Turns out, Dracula. All right, boys and ghouls. We'll catch you next week on another Sons of Bitchin' Minisode, which I don't think we know we're doing yet, do we?
No, because we can't do it in a violent nature unless I
know.
I gotta send an email to IFC, maybe. Be like,
come on, IFC.
Can we get a screener? Because we want to do that.
Send us a link.
Pretty please.
Pretty please, IFC, please. We'll find something out. There's plenty of good stuff coming up. So give us some suggestions, as always. We'll probably be, Steve and I will probably be figuring it out, 2 days before we record. So
yes.
All right. Let us know. We are up for suggestions. Boys and ghouls, for the Halloween's Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm Steve.
All right. See you later, you goddamn little pretty ass vampire ballerinas. Bye.
Bye.